Have you ever wondered what happens when an entire generation of men finally takes women at their exact word, when they hear, "We don't need you," so many times that they simply believe it and disappear? What happens when the protectors, the providers, the ones who always stood between women and the brutal edges of reality quietly step aside and say, "Fine, handle it yourself"? Stay with me until the very end, because by the time this video is over, you are going to see exactly why millions of men are never coming back, and why the panic you are watching spread across social media right now was 100% predictable and completely self inflicted. If you want more raw, unfiltered, angry guy content that cuts straight through the noise, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear this, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss an upload. And if you are serious about protecting everything you work for and actually growing real wealth in this chaotic market, check out Angry's Crypto Academy, linked in the description below. That is where I teach men step by step how to buy, store, trade, and safeguard their assets so nobody can ever take them away. Click that link and get started today. Also, if these videos are hitting home and keeping you fired up, you can buy me a Red Bull through the link in the description. Every can keeps the truth coming. And let me take you back to where this all started, because this did not happen overnight. This was 50 years in the making. 50 straight years of being told that masculinity itself was the problem. 50 years of being called toxic for simply existing as men. 50 years of watching movements rise up that did not want equality. They wanted dominance, and they wanted it while still keeping all the traditional benefits that men used to provide without question. We were told that chivalry was sexist, that paying for dinner was oppression, that holding a door could get you labeled a creep, that looking at a woman for half a second too long at the gym was harassment, that sitting with your knees apart on a train was now a hate crime called manspreading. They turned natural male behavior into punishable offenses and then acted shocked when men finally said, "All right, message received." I think about that for a second. They weaponized the court system. Family court became a wealth transfer machine where a man could lose his children, his home, his savings, and half his future income just because a woman decided she was bored or found someone new. Divorce became the most profitable career move a woman could make. False accusations became a sport because the system rewarded them. Believe all women became the battle cry, which really meant never question a woman, even when the evidence is sitting right in front of you. Paternity fraud went unpunished while men raised children for 18 years that were never theirs and then still had to pay child support when the truth came out. They created private Facebook groups with hundreds of thousands of members called "Are We Dating the Same Guy?", where women posted photos of men, shared private messages, destroyed reputations, and coordinated smear campaigns, all while crying about privacy when anyone dared push back. They demanded expensive first dates with zero intention of ever seeing the man again. They turned dating into a free meal ticket and then bragged about it online. They told men, "Never approach us in public, never speak to us at the gym, never slide into DMs, never look at us too long, never send an unsolicited compliment," and then turned around and complained that men stopped approaching. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted all the benefits of traditional masculinity without any of the responsibilities that used to come with it. They wanted men to keep providing and protecting while simultaneously being told those same men were worthless and unnecessary. And the craziest part is that men actually listened. That is what nobody saw coming. They thought men would never walk away. They thought men were too desperate, too needy, too hooked on validation to ever leave the plantation. They thought the thirst would always override common sense. They were wrong. Men heard every word. Men watched every action. Men saw the patterns repeat over and over and over again until something inside just switched off. It was not rage. It was not even anger anymore. It was pure indifference. The strongest force on earth is not hate. Hate still keeps you emotionally invested. Indifference is when you are finally free. So men did the one thing nobody expected. They left, not with screaming or protesting or burning cities down. They left quietly. They deleted the dating apps. They stopped simping. They stopped sending money to Cash Apps and Instagram bios. They stopped paying for OnlyFans. They stopped asking women out. They stopped caring about being called creepy or insensitive or whatever new label got invented that week. They looked around and realized that being alone is not the same as being lonely. They discovered that peace is addictive, real peace. The kind of peace you only get when nobody is screaming at you, nobody is manipulating you, nobody is draining your bank account while telling you how worthless you are. And now the panic has started. Now the videos are flooding TikTok every single day. Women in their late 20s, early 30s, sometimes younger, sometimes older, sitting in their cars or their apartments with that 1,000 yard stare, talking about how impossible rent is, how groceries are unaffordable, how dating is dead, how there are no good men left, how they are exhausted working 60 hours a week just to survive. Some of them are begging, some of them are demanding, some of them are trying to shame men into coming back by calling them immature or losers or emotionally damaged. But the men are not watching those videos and feeling guilty. They are watching those videos and feeling validated. Every tear, every complaint, every viral rant is just more proof that they made the right decision. Because here is the part that almost nobody wants to say out loud. Men were never the problem. The system that punished men for existing was the problem. The culture that told men they were disposable while simultaneously relying on their labor, their protection, their sacrifices, that was the problem. Men were the buffer between women and the harshness of reality for centuries. Men went to war. Men worked the dangerous jobs. Men built the infrastructure. Men paid the majority of taxes. Men took the risks. And in return, they were told thank you by being called oppressors who needed to sit down and shut up. Now that buffer is gone. Men are keeping their money. Men are keeping their time. Men are keeping their peace. Men are working jobs they tolerate, coming home to apartments they can afford on one income, eating steak whenever they want, traveling when they feel like it, playing video games, hitting the gym, building businesses, stacking crypto, sleeping 8 hours a night, and waking up without dread for the first time in their lives. And the best part? Nobody can guilt them anymore because they already heard every possible insult. There is nothing left to throw at them that has not already been tried. I want you to really picture this. A man who used to make $90,000 a year, who got divorce raped, lost half his income to alimony and child support, lived in a studio apartment while his ex moved into a bigger house with the new guy. That same man now makes 70,000, doing something easier, lives in the same size apartment because he never wanted more than that anyway, eats better, sleeps better, has zero drama, zero court dates, zero accusations, zero stress. He is winning. He is not suffering. He is thriving in simplicity. That is the luxury that women never understood because luxury to most women means bigger houses, designer bags, and constant attention. Luxury to a man is peace and freedom. And while all of this is happening, society is starting to crack. Birth rates are collapsing, marriage rates are collapsing, home ownership for single men is going up, while single women are being pushed out of the market. Credit card debt for women is skyrocketing while men are paying off debt and building savings. The dating marketplace is dead. Women are sharing each other on group chats, trying to figure out why none of the remaining men will commit. And the answer is staring them right in the face. The good men are gone. The average men followed. Even the below average men looked at the deal on the table and said no thanks. The only men left swimming in that pool are the ones who have nothing to lose, or the ones who learn to play the new game better than the women who created it. What did you think about everything we just went through? Do you agree that men walking away was the inevitable result of decades of hostility? Or do you think there is still a way to put this back together? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I read every single one. Like the video if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe. And if this hit home, share it with someone who needs to see it. All roads lead to MWA, men walking away and cheers. Let me paint this picture even clearer because some people still think this is just a phase, some temporary tantrum that men are throwing that will eventually blow over once they get lonely enough or horny enough or bored enough to come running back. That is the biggest miscalculation happening right now. This is not a strike. This is not a boycott. This is an exodus. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. And once a man crosses that threshold into genuine indifference, there is no advertisement, no amount of tears, no viral TikTok monologue, no promise of I've changed that brings him back. The switch does not flip in reverse. The peace is too good. The clarity is too sharp. The memory of what life was like on the other side is too painful. You see, for decades, women were sold the ultimate fantasy that they could have everything men traditionally provided while treating those same men like garbage, and that those men would just keep showing up anyway because biology or society or whatever invisible force would keep them chained. They were told they could mock men, shame men, extract from men, legislate against men, and still keep all the perks. They thought male loyalty was infinite and unbreakable. They thought the male protective instinct was so deeply hardwired that no amount of punishment would ever override it. They thought wrong. The moment men realized that solitude was not a prison sentence but a luxury penthouse, everything changed. The moment men looked around their quiet apartments, heard no screaming, no accusations, no passive aggressive comments, no demands for money, no threats of taking the kids away, and felt actual calm for the first time in years, that was it. Game over. That calm is heroin. Once you have tasted it, going back to chaos feels like volunteering to get waterboarded. And here's the part that drives the panic even deeper. Men are not suffering without women. That is the myth that is being shattered in real time. Society keeps waiting for the collapse of male mental health, for the wave of loneliness and despair that is supposed to force men crawling back. It is not happening. Male happiness metrics are going up, not down. Male suicide rates in many Western countries are finally starting to trend downward for the first time in decades. Men are working out more, eating better, sleeping more, saving more, traveling more, starting businesses at higher rates, and reporting higher life satisfaction than at any point in the last 50 years. The loneliness epidemic everyone keeps talking about, it is hitting women far harder than men right now, and the data is becoming impossible to ignore. Women are posting videos saying they have not been on a real date in years. Women are admitting they have not had a man offer to buy them a coffee in public in forever. Women are talking about how their cash apps are dry, how their inboxes are empty, how the attention that used to be constant has just evaporated. And the men, they are at home, grilling ribeyes, watching fights with their boys, stacking crypto, lifting heavier than ever, and sleeping like babies. They are not missing the chaos. They are not missing the drama. They are not missing the court dates and the false accusations and the endless guilt trips. They are thriving. Let me tell you about a guy I know personally. Mid 30s, solid career, used to be the classic provider type. Married for 8 years, 2 kids, nice house, the whole script. His wife decided she was unhappy, filed for divorce, took the house, took primary custody, took half his paycheck for the next 15 years between child support and alimony. He moved into a one-bedroom apartment, got supervised visitation every other weekend, and spent 2 years absolutely crushed. Then something shifted. He stopped fighting the system. He stopped hoping she would change. He stopped trying to be the hero dad who showed up with presents and got called a deadbeat anyway. He accepted reality. Fast forward 3 years. Same guy is now making more money than he ever made while married because he is not bleeding half his income every month. He lives in a smaller place, but it is his. No one screams at him. No one threatens to call the police if he raises his voice. No one polices what he eats or how he spends his free time. He sees his kids when the schedule allows, and he makes those weekends count, but the rest of the time is his. He bought a motorcycle. He travels to Asia twice a year. He has a friend group that actually respects him. He dates when he feels like it, but only on his terms and never anything serious because why would he ever sign up for that nightmare again? He told me last month, and I quote, I spent years thinking freedom would feel empty. It does not. It feels like breathing for the first time. Multiply that story by millions. That is what is happening right now, quietly, under the radar. Men are not announcing it. They are not making TikTok videos crying about their pain. They are just living. And the silence is deafening to the women who spent years telling them to go away. Now, the cope is starting. The narrative is shifting in real time. Suddenly, all those independent boss women who don't need no man are posting videos asking where the real men went. Suddenly, the same women who said a man offering to carry a heavy bag was sexist are complaining that men don't help women anymore. Suddenly, the same women who bragged about monkey branching and having rosters are shocked that men won't commit. Suddenly, the same women who said marriage is a trap for women are panicking that men don't want to get married anymore. The mental gymnastics are Olympic gold medal level. And the best part, men are not arguing anymore. They are not debating. They are not trying to convince anyone. They are just watching from the sidelines, eating popcorn while the entire script flips. Every viral 30 something woman posting a video about how she earned six figures but still can't find a man who will take care of her is just another data point confirming that the walkaway was the right call. Every article written about the loneliness crisis among educated professional women is just another brick in the wall of validation. Every viral post begging men to come back is just free advertising for the red pill. Because here is the cold truth nobody wants to say out loud women never actually wanted equality, they wanted superiority disguised as equality. They wanted all the upside of traditional gender roles with none of the downside. They wanted men to keep providing and protecting and sacrificing while being free to do whatever they wanted with no consequences. They wanted the option to destroy a man's life with one phone call and still be seen as the victim. They wanted to be able to sleep with whoever they wanted in their prime and then demand a stable provider clean up the mess later and call anyone who pointed that out a misogynist. That deal is off the table now. The market corrected. Men looked at the contract and said hard pass. Men looked at the risk reward ratio and realized it made gambling in Vegas look like a sound investment strategy. Men looked at the divorce statistics, the false accusation statistics, the child support horror stories, the social media smear campaigns, the cultural hatred, and they made a collective decision that peace was worth more than any amount of sex or validation or social approval. And once that decision is made, it is permanent. You cannot negotiate with a man who has nothing left to lose and everything to protect. You cannot shame a man who has already been called every name in the book. You cannot guilt a man who has accepted that his happiness does not depend on your approval. That man is untouchable. That man is free. And there are more of him every single day. Women are now experiencing what life actually looks like when men stop shielding them from consequences. Rent is due, groceries are expensive, inflation is real. Nobody is coming to save you just because you are a woman. The government checks are not big enough. The corporate jobs are not secure enough. The dating apps are not delivering enough. The attention economy has collapsed, and the men who used to fill all those gaps are gone. Not dead, not hiding, just gone, living better lives than they ever lived when they were sacrificing everything for women who told them they were worthless. And the most delicious irony of all, the same society that spent decades telling men to man up and take responsibility is now watching women learn the hard way what responsibility actually feels like when there is no one there to catch you when you fall. The same voices that said men need to do better are now silent when women are posting crying videos about how hard life is. The same institutions that destroyed men for sport are now pretending they don't see the fallout. This is not revenge. This is cause and effect. This is reaping what was sown. This is the universe balancing the scales. Men did not break the system. The system broke men until men finally said enough and opted out entirely. And now the bill has come due. So when you see another video of a woman in her car talking about how she is strong and independent, but also exhausted and lonely and broke, understand that she is not describing a mystery. She is describing the natural consequence of a culture that spent 50 years punishing masculinity while depending on it. She is describing what happens when you tell the people who carry the world on their backs that they are not needed and they finally believe you. And men are not coming back, not because they can't, because they won't. The juice is not worth the squeeze. The peace is too sweet. The freedom is too complete. The memory of chains is too fresh. And every day, more men wake up to the same realization. Every day, the exodus grows. Every day, the old world dies a little more, while a new one is built by men who finally put themselves first. That is the story that is unfolding right now in real time. Not theory, not speculation, observable reality. And it is just getting started. The craziest part is how predictable this all was. If you go back 10, 15, 20 years and read the forums, the old blogs, the comment sections where men were already starting to wake up, they laid this out step by step. They warned that if you keep pushing, if you keep punishing normal male behavior, if you keep making it impossible for an average man to start a family without risking total financial and emotional destruction, men will eventually stop playing. They were called bitter, called losers, called incels before that word even existed, called woman haters, called every name under the sun. And the response was always the same: keep talking. Keyboard warriors. Men will never walk away. They're too weak, too desperate, too controlled by their urges. Well, here we are. The keyboard warriors were prophets, and the people laughing at them are now making tearful videos asking why the good men disappeared. Let me take you through the timeline so you can see exactly how we got here, because this was not random. This was engineered piece by piece over decades. It started in the courts. Family law got rewritten in the 70s and 80s to the point where marriage became the worst financial decision a man could make. No fault divorce meant a woman could walk away for any reason or no reason and still take half the assets, the kids, the house, and a chunk of future income forever. Prenups started getting thrown out like candy. Alimony went from temporary rehabilitation to lifetime pensions in many states. Child support became a profit center. Men started doing the math and realized that signing that marriage certificate was like playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets in a 6 shooter. So marriage rates began to drop, slowly at first, then faster. Then the culture piled on. Hollywood, universities, media, every institution with a microphone started telling men that everything natural about them was wrong: aggression, toxic, protectiveness, patriarchal control, sexuality, predatory, ambition, greed, strength, fragile masculinity. Even the way men sat on a subway became a war crime. Man spreading campaigns popped up in major cities with posters shaming men for taking up space with their legs. Think about how insane that is. They ran public service campaigns to shame men for how they sit, and people cheered. Then social media arrived and turned every woman into a potential career destroyer. one bad date, one misinterpreted comment, one glance that lasted half a second too long, and your face is on TikTok with 50,000 comments calling you a creep, a predator, a rapist. Your employer gets tagged, your family gets messages, your life gets blown up. And if you dared defend yourself, you were proving their point. So men learned rule number one: do not engage, do not approach, do not flirt, do not compliment, do not look, do not speak unless spoken to, and definitely do not touch, ever. Then the dating market got weaponized. Apps turned dating into a slot machine where the top 20% of men got all the attention and the bottom 80% got crumbs or nothing. Women started demanding six figures, 6 feet tall, six pack abs as the minimum entry requirement just to get a reply. Meanwhile, those same women were posting about how they were strong and independent and didn't need a man, while simultaneously complaining that no man was stepping up. The cognitive dissonance was off the charts. Then OnlyFans launched and proved once and for all that the average woman could make more money posting feet pictures than the average man made working 40 hours a week in an office. Men watched hundreds of thousands of women opt out of relationships entirely because simps were paying their rent. Why date when you can monetize attention directly? Why commit when you can have 1,000 orbiters sending you money for saying good morning? That was the final proof that the game was not just rigged, it was a joke. Layer by layer, brick by brick, the incentives for men to participate collapsed. Every traditional reason to engage, sex, companionship, family, legacy, got stripped away or turned into a liability. Sex now came with a side of potential life ruining accusations. Companionship came with constant criticism and scorekeeping. Family came with a 50 to 80% chance of losing your kids and going bankrupt. Legacy, most men realized their own kids might not even be theirs. And even if they were, they'd be raised to hate everything their father stood for. So men did what any rational person does when the cost benefit analysis looks like that. They stopped playing. They didn't rage quit. They didn't burn the system down. They just walked away and built something better for themselves. And now the fallout is everywhere, if you know where to look. Home ownership among single men under 35 is now higher than single women in many major cities for the first time in recorded history. Why? Because men live simply. They don't need 4 bedrooms and a walk in closet and granite countertops. They need a decent kitchen, a good gaming setup or home gym, and peace and quiet. One decent income covers that easily. Women, on average, need higher square footage, higher aesthetics, higher everything, and they're discovering that one income doesn't cut it anymore when you refuse to compromise on lifestyle. Credit card debt for women aged 25 to 34 has exploded while men in the same age group are paying down debt faster than any time since the 1990s. Why? Because men stopped funding women's lifestyles. No more $300 first dates. No more paying for vacations. No more Venmo requests at 2 a.m. for nails and lashes. Men kept their money, and women suddenly had to budget like adults for the first time. Birth rates are now below replacement in every Western country and plunging faster every year. Japan is 20 years ahead on this curve, and they're already talking about entire towns disappearing because there are no young people left. The US is not far behind. Schools are closing, maternity wards are shutting down, the government is panicking and throwing benefits at women to try to get them to have kids, but the benefits are not enough to offset the reality that there are no men willing to sign up for the lifelong financial hostage situation that fatherhood has become. The military can't recruit. Police departments can't recruit. Trade schools are overflowing with men who looked at college, looked at the debt, looked at the indoctrination, looked at the job prospects, and said, no thanks. They're becoming plumbers, electricians, welders, making six figures by 25 with no debt, working half the year if they want, and laughing at the cubicle slaves who spent 100 grand on gender studies degrees. And the entire time this is happening, the media is still trying to spin it as men's fault. Men are immature. Men are avoiding responsibility. Men are broken. They cannot admit the obvious. Men are not broken. Men fix themselves by removing the source of the damage. Men are not avoiding responsibility. Men are embracing the ultimate responsibility, responsibility to self. Men are not immature. Men grew up and realized the game was childish and walked away from the playground. Every day, another influencer posts a video saying, "Where have all the good men gone?" As if they vanished by magic. They didn't vanish. You priced them out. You regulated them out. You shamed them out. You accused them out. You divorced them out. You alienated them until they left. And now the silence is what you're hearing. That silence is millions of men living better lives than they ever imagined possible, lives that no longer include you. And the best part? It's self reinforcing. The longer men stay gone, the better their lives get. The better their lives get, the less incentive they have to ever return. The less incentive they have, the more men follow. It's a feedback loop that only goes one direction now. Women are trying every trick in the book at this point. Some are softening their standards. Some are pretending to be traditional all of a sudden. Some are offering to split the bill on the first date like that's supposed to be a grand romantic gesture. Some are joining churches they never believed in. Some are posting thirst traps with captions about wanting a family man. Some are straight up begging in comment sections. None of it is working on the men who matter because those men have already seen behind the curtain. They know the script, they know the pattern. They know that the moment they let their guard down, the mask comes off and the claws come out. The men who fall for it now are the ones who never learned the lesson in the first place, the perpetual blue pill types who still think love conquers all, and if they just find the mythical good one, everything will be different this time. Those are the only ones still playing. Everyone else is watching from the sidelines, shaking their heads, and going back to their peaceful, drama free, wealth building lives. This is the new normal, and it's not going anywhere. The most fascinating thing happening right now is watching the narrative collapse in real time. For years, the dominant story was that men were the problem, that patriarchy was oppressing women, that masculinity was inherently violent and dangerous, that the world would be a utopia if men would just sit down, shut up, and let women lead. They told men to dismantle their own gender, to apologize for existing, to hand over every institution, every position of power, every dollar they earned, and to do it with a smile because anything less made them part of the problem. And men did it. Not all men, but enough. They stepped back. They gave up the seats. They stopped speaking up. They stopped defending themselves. They stopped leading. They stopped protecting. They stopped providing. And now the same people who demanded that are staring at the results and have no idea what to do. Look at every major city right now. Crime is through the roof in places where they defunded police and told men that aggressive enforcement was toxic. Infrastructure is literally falling apart because the men who used to work those jobs for 40 years are retiring and no young men are replacing them. Power grids are straining because nobody wants to climb poles in a storm anymore. Supply chains are still fragile because truck driving became a punchline instead of a respected trade. The very systems that kept civilization running smoothly were held together by men who were told they were the villains, and now those men are gone or going. And the reaction from the people who spent decades celebrating the decline of traditional masculinity is pure panic. Suddenly, articles are popping up with headlines like, "Where are all the real men?" And "Who will protect us now?" And "Why won't men step up anymore?" The same publications that ran pieces titled "The End of Men" 10 years ago are now running pieces asking why men disappeared. The same professors who taught entire generations that gender was a social construct and that male instincts were learned, oppression, are now watching birth rates collapse and have no explanation beyond blaming video games or pornography or capitalism or anything except the ideology they spent their lives pushing. That because the truth is brutal. Society never actually wanted equality. Society wanted men to keep doing all the hard, dangerous, dirty, thankless jobs while simultaneously being told those jobs were proof of their privilege. Society wanted men to keep paying the majority of taxes while being told they were the ones oppressing everyone else with their wealth. Society wanted men to keep running into burning buildings and fighting wars and working themselves to death while being told that their sacrifices were just expected and that complaining about it made them fragile. And when men finally said, okay, we'll stop, society discovered that all those things it claimed were oppressive systems of control, were actually the load bearing walls holding everything up. Now, women are living the independence they march for. They are the CEOs. They are the majority of college graduates. They are the primary breadwinners in more households than ever before. They are free to sleep with whoever they want, whenever they want, without judgment. They are free to divorce at any time and take half plus monthly payments forever. They are free to accuse any man of anything and be believed instantly. They are free to live exactly the way they said they always wanted to live. And the result is the most depressed, medicated, anxious, lonely, and financially strained generation of women in recorded history. Antidepressant use among young women is at all time highs. Therapy is a growth industry almost entirely driven by female clients. Dating app revenue is collapsing because women are burning out on endless swiping with no results. OnlyFans creators are starting to complain that even the simps are drying up. Cosmetic surgery rates keep climbing because external validation is the only kind left. And through it all, the same women who said they wanted to be left alone are now making videos asking why they feel so alone. Meanwhile, the men who walked away are some of the calmest, happiest, most financially secure men this world has ever seen. They wake up when they want, they eat what they want, they spend their money on what actually makes them happy. They have time to train, to read, to travel, to build skills, to stack assets. They have friendships with other men who actually respect them instead of competing with them for female attention. They have zero fear of being canceled because they remove themselves from every arena where cancellation is possible. They have zero fear of losing everything in a divorce because they never got married or they already lost it once and learned the lesson. They have zero fear of false accusations because they stopped putting themselves in positions where those accusations can stick. These men are not hiding in basements playing video games all day like the media wants you to believe. They are out living. They are in Thailand for a month on what used to be a weekend budget. They are in the gym getting stronger than they have ever been. They are starting companies from laptops in coffee shops. They are riding motorcycles across continents. They are hunting, fishing, camping, building, creating, competing, winning. They are doing all the things men have always done when they are not chained to a system that hates them. And the most powerful part, they are doing it quietly. No bragging, no flexing, no need to prove anything to anyone. The loudest man in the room is usually the weakest, and these men have zero need to be loud anymore. They know what they have, they know what they built, they know the peace they earned, and they know that no amount of money, no woman, no societal pressure will ever make them trade that peace for the chaos again. Women are starting to figure out that the high value man they spent years chasing never actually existed in the form they imagined. The 6'6", six figure, six pack guy who was going to worship the ground they walked on while letting them do whatever they wanted was always a fantasy. The men who actually fit parts of that description either played the new game perfectly and became unattainable, or they looked at the deal on the table and walked away like everyone else. The few who are left are usually so damaged or so narcissistic that even the women who get them end up regretting it within a year. The average man, the one who used to be willing to work hard, commit, provide, protect, and build a life, is gone from the marketplace entirely. He looked at the requirements: make 50% more than her just to be considered equal, never have a bad day, never look at another woman, never question anything, accept all her past choices without judgment, pay for everything while she keeps her income, sign a contract that lets her destroy him financially at any time. And he said no, not out of spite, not out of hatred, just a calm, rational, the risk is not worth the reward. And now the same women who set those requirements are sitting in apartments they can barely afford, with cats they pretend are children, scrolling through social media, liking pictures of other people's families, wondering why life feels so empty when they followed all the rules they were told would make them happy. The career was supposed to be enough. The independence was supposed to be fulfilling. The body count was supposed to be empowering. The wine nights with the girls were supposed to replace real connection. None of it worked. The emptiness is still there. The clock keeps ticking. The regret is starting to creep in. And there is no one left to blame but the mirror. This is what happens when you spend 50 years telling half the population they are worthless and then act shocked when they believe you and leave. This is what happens when you build a society that punishes virtue and rewards vice and then wonders why virtue disappeared. This is what happens when you declare war on biology, on reality, on human nature itself, and expect there to be no consequences. Men walking away is not the disease, it is the cure. The disease was a culture that hated men for being men while depending on men to function. The cure was men finally loving themselves enough to say, if you don't want us, fine, we'll save ourselves. And they did. And they are. And they will keep doing it. And no amount of crying, no amount of shaming, no amount of new laws, no amount of media propaganda is going to reverse it. The genie is out of the bottle. The chains are broken. The peace has been tasted. The other side has been seen. And once a man has lived on the other side of indifference, there is no going back, ever. The future belongs to the men who chose themselves. The future belongs to the men who refuse to be sacrificial lambs on the altar of a lie. The future belongs to the men who looked at a burning building and, instead of running in to save people who told them they were the arsonists, simply walked away and built something better somewhere else. That future is here. It is quiet. It is strong. It is free. And it is growing every single day. And here we are, standing in the ashes of a social experiment that lasted half a century, one that promised women absolute freedom and told men they were the problem, only to discover that freedom without responsibility is just chaos wearing a better outfit, and that men were never the problem. They were the solution everybody pretended they didn't need until the solution walked away. Look at any major city on a Friday night right now. The bars that used to be packed with men buying rounds and competing for attention are half empty. The high end restaurants that relied on men dropping $300 on a first date just to maybe get a second one are closing locations. The luxury car dealerships that marketed to men trying to impress women are pivoting to marketing to women who now have to buy their own status symbols and are discovering those payments eat an entire paycheck. The jewelry stores, the designer handbag sections, the salons that charge $400 for highlights, everywhere that used to survive on male disposable income redirected toward female validation is quietly bleeding out. The strip clubs are closing, not because men suddenly became monks, but because the same experience is available online for a fraction of the cost with zero drama and zero cover charge. The gentlemen's clubs that used to have $200 bottle minimums are boarding up windows in cities that once had a dozen of them. The dating coaches who taught men how to nag and game and spend money to win female approval are pivoting to crypto courses because their old audience disappeared overnight. Entire industries that were built on male thirst are collapsing in slow motion, and nobody in the mainstream wants to say why. Even the wedding industry, the multi-billion-dollar machine that convinced generations of men that dropping 50 grand on a party was the ultimate proof of love, is finally starting to feel the squeeze. Magazines are folding. Destination wedding venues are offering 50% off packages nobody is booking. Wedding planners are pivoting to divorce parties because that's where the growth market is now. Think about that. An entire economy that existed to celebrate men locking themselves into lifelong financial servitude is having to rebrand to celebrate women escaping it. And while all of this collapses, as men are quietly stacking wins nobody is reporting on. Single men are now the fastest growing demographic of first time home buyers in most Western countries. Not McMansions, not six bedroom status symbols, just solid 3-bedroom houses in good neighborhoods with low taxes and no HOA, paid for in cash or on 15-year mortgages because one male income still stretches further than most people want to admit when it isn't being drained by someone else's lifestyle. Men are buying land up north, fixing up cabins, building shops, planting gardens, living the way their grandfathers lived before everything got complicated. Men are buying sports cars again, not to impress women, but because they actually enjoy driving. Men are buying boats and taking their buddies fishing instead of taking dates on dinner cruises. Men are buying season tickets to fights and games and going with other men who don't spend the entire night texting or demanding attention. Men are buying tools and fixing their own houses because YouTube exists. And it turns out most of the stuff women used to call man jobs are actually pretty straightforward when you're not doing them under resentment. Men are getting dogs, not the little purse dogs that were marketed as female accessories, but actual dogs, big ones, the kind you take hiking and camping and throw a ball with for hours. Shelter adoption rates for medium and large breeds have never been higher, and the overwhelming majority of adopters are single men. Those dogs are getting better lives than most kids these days, and the men are getting loyalty and companionship that no human relationship ever gave them. Men are getting vasectomies in record numbers. Not because they hate kids, but because they refuse to be financially enslaved for 18 years by a system that lets a woman change her mind at any moment and still collect. Clinics can't keep up with demand from men in their 20s and early 30s who looked at the math and said, yeah, hard pass. The era of accidental fatherhood as a life sentence is ending, one snip at a time. Men are moving, not just across town, across countries. Digital nomad visas are exploding with applications from Western men who realize they can live like kings in Southeast Asia, Latin America, or Eastern Europe for what it costs to rent a studio in a dying coastal city. They're learning languages, dating women who actually smile when a man holds a door, eating real food, getting sun, lifting in outdoor gyms, and sending pictures back home of beaches and mountains, while their peers are still grinding 9 to 5s to pay for someone else's lifestyle. The brain drain isn't just tech workers, it's masculine energy leaving in droves. And the most important part, these men are not angry anymore. That's what separates this from every previous backlash. This isn't the angry men's rights activists from 15 years ago screaming on forums. This isn't the bitter divorced guy at the bar ranting about his ex. This is calm. This is quiet confidence. This is the kind of inner peace that comes from knowing you've already survived the worst the system could throw at you and came out the other side stronger, richer, happier, and free. These men don't hate women. They just don't need women. There's a difference. Hate keeps you chained, indifference sets you free. And freedom, once tasted, is the most addictive substance known to man. So when you see another headline screaming about the crisis of unmarried women, or another viral video of a 34-year-old with a master's degree and a wine glass asking where all the good men went, understand that she's not actually asking a question. She's reading the final chapter of a book she helped write, page by page, choice by choice, demand by demand, accusation by accusation. The good men didn't die. They didn't disappear. They just stopped caring. And once a man stops caring, he's unstoppable. The era of men sacrificing everything for people who told them they were worthless is over. The era of men defining their value by female approval is over. The era of men as utility is over. The era of men as men has begun. And nothing, no law, no guilt trip, no media campaign, no promise of sex, no threat of being called a loser, nothing is bringing them back. They heard, "We don't need you," loud and clear. They believed you. They left, and they're never coming back. What did you think about everything we just went through? Do you see this playing out in your own life, in the lives of men you know? Do you think there's any path back? Or is this the new permanent reality? Drop your thoughts below because I read every single comment. Like the video, if it hit hard, share it with every man who needs to hear this right now. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.